Okay, so there's two parts. There is the lead actress made some comments that around
supported the police.
the Hong Kong police and their crackdown. I researched and I researched and I researched, and the extent of what I found that she said was one 3-sentence tweet along the lines of, I support the police. You can go ahead and, beat me up now. Which apparently was a reference to something a journalist had said,
Mm-hmm.
and then got beat up by what I assume was protesters or something, right? Now, Hong Kong is a little bit close to home, not because I've ever been there, but my sister lives in Hong Kong.
Uh-huh.
She lived there throughout all the heat of everything that was happening, and like we're not hearing about it right now doesn't mean that they aren't doing it. Things are still happening over there, right? And recently as well. But it's, I was nervous. I thought that she should come back because things felt like they were getting out of control out there. But after looking at the tweet, and I looked up her background, right? She was born in China. She's not some American actress playing Mulan. She was born in China, right? Came to the States for 4 years. She's a naturalized citizen. Then she went back for like acting school and whatever. And like, I get the impression that's her career. Her career is in China.
Mm-hmm.
Are we surprised that she's trying to support the Chinese government?
I don't know.
That's her paycheck.
I don't know much about the Chinese government.
That's her paycheck.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether you agree with her or not, are you surprised that she said it? You got to understand a couple things about how China works, right? They are communist.
Mm-hmm.
They do have to own at least 50 point whatever percent of every business. So Disney's got a lot of heat recently, right? They have 2 theme parks in China that they don't own.
Mm-hmm.
They own a minority share of their theme parks over there because the Chinese government owns it, right? It's really hard to work for American companies to work with the Chinese government because of these rules. And so like around the same time that everything was happening in Hong Kong, we have like LeBron James and other NBA players over in China doing exhibition games, right? And people are like, LeBron, why aren't you speaking out against this? You know why he's not speaking out against this? He's still there. And you know what the law is that they're fighting over? They had the right, even if you are passing through Hong Kong, you're not even staying there. They can pull you off the plane, bring you to mainland China, and then follow whatever rules they want to do. Like, I see why people are upset about those laws that were being protested. So understand, the NBA is huge in China. It is a lot of business, and it's very easy for us to say, oh, you should just like give up everything and just support what we feel is right. We're not trying at all to understand what it's like for them. Now, I'm not saying, oh, you got to appreciate and accept, the abusers and what they're doing. It's like, no. That's not what I'm saying. We are applying our morals and our principles and our culture onto them, and we're upset that they don't follow us. That is so American.
Yeah. Well, it's also kind of how the rest of the world is. I didn't know more about America. I learned more about America by traveling to other countries. Because all they care about is American politics. And I'm like, don't you guys care about your own politics? Come on, man. You've got to... And this is a...
I have a lot of Canadian friends. They're talking about our politics, not theirs.
Yeah, no, they don't talk about who their prime minister is.
Well, a little bit of that too. But definitely they're talking about ours.
But they're talking about our politics. Yeah. I mean, for crying out loud, South Africa had a convicted car bomber as the president, and they were worried about Bush. And I was like...
Well, God talked to him, right? And he told people about it.
I thought, man, you guys need to get your house in order before you worry about ours. But no, I mean, America is we're what everybody looks at, not necessarily because we're the greatest or the best or anything, right? I mean, all Americans will tell you that's why, but it's because this is where majority our export is entertainment.
Yes.
That's what we
Yes.
do.
That's what we do.
That's why people pay attention. That's why they're so mixed up in American politics. It's very theatrical. Now, I'm not saying politics around the world aren't still very theatrical. They are. Like on a comical level. Like the Korean politics, I love watching them. I love watching it. It's like watching kabuki theater, like really good kabuki theater.
I'm sure you just offended a ton of people by saying Korea and kabuki as if it's not the same. We know that. We get it.
We know
we
that.
Get it.
I'm saying it's like that. So, but no, it's fantastic. But that's why people care. That's why people care so much about it, and that's why Americans think that. That's why we think that way, I suppose.
Because the world reinforces our view of ourselves.
Yeah. We see ourselves reflected back
Oh.
because we put all of our entertainment out there.
Yeah.
And that's what everybody tries to emulate.
Now, it wasn't until I watched Phil DeFranco today that I understood the rest of the controversy. Because, like,
I don't know who Phil DeFranco is.
And that's the rest of the audience, just left. He's a YouTuber. He's been around a long time. Basically, what he does is like 20-minute news videos every day.
Oh, okay.
And he hits on controversies. And he was talking about, you know, a bunch of things, namely some of the controversy, in large part because some of the areas where they shot Mulan in China, there was, you know, a lot of this, like, you know, ethnic cleansing happening around that time period. And they're like, Disney, you want to explain this? That, I think, is a bigger deal to look into than 3 sentences that someone said, which, if anyone's listening at this point, we've offended everyone by now, right? Okay, so I don't even know how to say her name. The lead actress in Mulan. It's like Yafei or something. I don't know how to say it. So she basically said, I support the police. Isn't half of America right now making the exact same argument? It's the equivalent where people are trying to, you know, destroy her, cancel her, whatever, for essentially being what would be the equivalent in America? Anti-Black Lives Matter, right? Because she's pro-police. Like, that seems to be the closest parallel that I can come up with, right?
That's nice. It's more complicated than that.
It's, well, not that isn't complicated, but she is supporting a group which people find controversial because it doesn't line up with how they think civil rights should be handled.
Right.
It sounds like a pretty close parallel to me.
Right.
But Disney overlooking what's happening in other parts of the country, doing business, it's complicated, but I think that's a better argument. It's like, Disney, why are you doing business in China when China's doing this to their people? I think that's a better argument than picking out, you know, basically a tweet that one person said.
Because you can't
months ago.
You can't do business in America without inadvertently going through China, because they've bought most of America.
Or else we wouldn't be talking about TikTok, right? Like that's the whole thing, right?
I mean, that's the real. You can't do business around the world. It's such a global economy right now.
Especially movies.
Yeah, especially
a lot of
movies.
movie money is coming from China.
Well, I mean, not just movie money. I mean, well, not just movie money, but I mean, economics in general. The equipment to make the movies, all made in China, right?
Whoa. Japan.
The ore, you know, it all hinges on, it all flows through China because they have some of the cheapest, because they're a communist government. They don't pay their people very well. And that's why everything continues to be made in China. Now that's changing a little bit. India is starting to step in and take over. The Chinese government is not, every government does this, right? Eventually it gets too big and it topples over. The United States did it in the 30s, right? We had a big recession then, depression we called it back then. We had another one in 2008 that was based on the housing market. That was a little bit weirder. But the Chinese government, the Chinese country is not immune to this economic turn. They can't avoid it. Eventually, it's going to happen. And there's a lot of countries that are stepping up to stand in the way, right? India is a big example. India is doing so much right now. They have so many resources, so many people willing to work, and so many opportunities in that country. And they're starting to seize them, starting to take control of that. So I don't know. I don't know if it'll happen in our lifetime, but definitely we'll start seeing a lot more things made in India. But anyway, back to Mulan.
I mean, they're making iPhones in India now,
Yeah.
right? In large part because Apple wanted to get into India, and that was part of the rules. It's like, you could sell that if we make it. Sorry.
Yeah. I was looking at the economics of Apple today, actually. Did you know that Apple is bigger than the entire mining industry? By like 2/3?
So, did they just break 2 trillion? No. What did they? They just reached a new goal in their valuation. I don't remember what it was.
Too much.
It was too much.
So,
I got you.
anyway, so back to Mulan. I enjoyed it. It
Yeah.
was good. Letting it stand on its own merits. I thought it was a really well done film. The cinematography was spectacular. Dang it, I had her name just a second ago, but she's an Australian cinematographer. She
The director was from New Zealand.
is a New Zealander.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the color choices that they made with the film, it hit all the right points. It was a good movie. I don't think it's a movie that I'm going to remember. It's not like it's not going to have the impact on me that Mulan had on me when I was a kid, right? But that's because it's not necessarily for my generation, like you were saying before. It's for your daughter, right? It's for that. It's for the up and coming generation. Because I can see now. I spent a really large amount of time as a young person hanging out with old people, and
It's not as weird as it sounds.
no, it was my job, right? I was in geriatric care, and they did not understand. They just couldn't wrap their heads around new films today and new television shows. All they wanted to do was sit around and watch really old episodes of Lawrence
Bonanza.
Welk.
Oh,
Yeah, and Bonanza, right? And I always felt so bad for them. I was like, no, there's just so much good stuff happening out here. This is a conversation I had with a man on his deathbed. Actually, he was telling me, because I was telling him, oh yeah, they're remaking The Magnificent Seven.
oh,
This was years ago, and he goes, no. Why would they ever remake that movie? It was good as it was.
Mandy Walker.
They should leave. Yeah, Mandy Walker or Mindy Walker. Mandy, yeah, she's great. Why would you ruin something like that? And I'm like, you'd realize that's based on an old Japanese film, right? And that blew his mind. And like I legit to this day think that I ruined his dying moments because I told him that that The Magnificent Seven is based on the Seven Samurai, an old Kurosawa film. And like he was so frustrated about it. He was like, no, that's an American Western. No. So
Yeah,
and
it is. It's also very deliberately based off of.
So I'm
Seven
starting to see that a little bit in myself. Not that I think that the old Mulan is better. I think that this movie stands alone on its own merits very well. I think it was very well done.
Mm-hmm.
She had a really great, character arc. It hit all the right tones, but that's just how Disney makes movies. They have a committee of people making sure that things happen the way they're supposed to.
Yeah.
And they're good at it. They're really good at it.
Yep.
So yeah, no, it was a good movie.
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to go back and rewatch it unless somebody hasn't seen it or.
Now, what do you think of the Hong Kong style fighting?
Honestly, I thought it could have been more Hong Kongish.
Like, we watch it and we're like, of course they're doing that.
Yeah.
Of course everyone's flying around.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to explain to my kids, I'm like, they're like, how are they doing that? Like my 6-year-old son is obsessed with, like, he picked up a sword, a toy sword, in the middle, and he's trying to swing it around in the middle of all of us. We're like, whoa, 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 go stand back there, go stand back there. But he's like, after that, he's like, I'm gonna show you how to do stunts from Mulan. Like, he really liked the sword fighting, right? But I'm trying to explain, like, this is a reference, which I'm sure they didn't care about. This is a reference to, this specific
Yeah.
style of filmmaking from China.
Yeah.
Like, it's very deliberate.
And as a huge fan of that genre, I enjoyed seeing it. I honestly wish it had been there a little bit more. And I realized that they played a fine line. You know, there was a very it had to be Western enough for people to want to watch it. Because if you go back and you watch some of those old Chinese action films with Jet Li, who, dude, was the emperor.
I know.
That was awesome.
Jet Li was
I'm
in it.
serious. I was sitting down watching the film, and I'm like, man, I guess that actor couldn't speak English because his dubbing sounds terrible, right? When they're in the palace. It wasn't until a couple of scenes later where we saw him again. I'm like, that's Jeff freaking Lee.
Yep.
I mean, he stopped making epic martial arts movies a few years ago. He retired, but I was really glad that they got him on for this one because he was a perfect choice. But anyway, I forgot where I was going with this.
What was it, Donnie? What's his name?
Donnie Yen, yeah.
When he's explaining, when Donnie Yen is explaining chi, like, I'm one with the Force and the Force is with me. It's like, I said it and I turned around and I don't.
Yeah.
No one gets it. No one gets it. Okay.
It
was the same thing.
He goes on that in his movie Ip Man.
I'm like, I have a toy of him.
Yeah.
He's right there.
He's
him.
He's in 4 Ip Man movies.
Yeah.
Which is kind of one of those retold stories throughout that kind of cinema. Anyway, he does that a little bit in there. I thought he was a great choice too. Just watching him move around and stuff, and I thought, oh, that's good. Because Donnie Yen is a legit master. He's a martial arts master, and you can see it in the way he moves.
I think he also made some pro-Chinese government comments as well.
Did he?
Yeah.
Well, shame
so
on him.
I rewatched. I rewatched.
You can't support your governments, people.
After watching the movie.
It's very un-American.
And knowing where everyone was at, right? It's very un-American to support anything but America. Wait a second.
And whoever's loudest right now.
Oh man. So like I don't want to go there yet. Anyway, but I rewatched a trailer afterwards, and about half of it was Donnie Yen. The other half was Mulan. I'm like, whoa, wait a second. They're really trying to push this, aren't they?
Dude, Donnie Yen.
It's very deliberate.
Donnie Yen draws a lot of Chinese eyes. That is why. He's like, how can I say this? He's like the Denzel Washington of China. You know what I mean? People go to see that movie.
I'd watch him.
People go to see that movie.
I was so happy Ming Na Wen made it in.
Oh yeah.
I was pointing at the screen.
Yeah.
I was like looking around. I was trying to find the words to explain what was happening.
Well, and now that's
she's still not listed on IMDb.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
I checked afterwards.
We talked to her at Comic-Con. We
didn't talk to her.
Well, okay, she was at Comic-Con. Someone asked her.
We were in a panel, yeah.
And she said they haven't contacted me yet. So I don't know.
So I read the whole story.
And then she showed up.
So she's filming Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And they originally wanted her to play like a mother-in-law of someone she was being matched with.
Mm-hmm.
And it was going to take a month worth of shooting. And Marvel's like, we can't let her leave for a month. And so they're finally like, okay, we got a new one. You only have to be here a week. It's like one shot.
Yeah.
I don't know why she had to be there for a week for one shot.
Costuming and makeup.
I know it's a long trip to get, but I think that was in like Australia or something. But anyway.
Did they shoot that in Australia?
Well, they shot a lot of places, including Quebec.
I know they shot in Quebec. I didn't.
But there was I want to say there was New Zealand, there was China, maybe Australia. There was
Australia.
And I mean, when you have an Aussie director, she was a
Kiwi.
She was a Kiwi from New Zealand. Yeah, they get around, huh?
Yeah, and an Aussie cinematographer.
There's a lot of open land out there.
Yeah.
Very pretty. Very picturesque.
She was. I was really glad that she made it in the film.
Yeah.
That was probably hands down my favorite part of the movie.
Mhm.
Was when Ming Na Wen. I was like, that's my girl. That's my girl.
She's so different than the characters that she plays.
She is. She's way cool. If you ever get a chance to go to any Comic-Con where Ming Na Wen is there,
She's super cool.
attend her panel. It will change your life.
I don't know how to explain except she's perky. Like
Yeah.
she is not Agent May. Agent May is like super serious.
Yeah.
She's not Agent May at all.
She's really cool. And
But she's done I don't even know if you call it the trifecta. She's done live action Disney. She's done animated Disney. She's done Star Wars because she was in Mandalorian.
Mhm.
And she did Marvel because she was Agent May. She's just missing like a Pixar movie.
She's probably.
And then I imagine she's done something Fox, so she's hit all their studios.
Yeah. And everybody who works with her has a really high opinion of her, so she seems really cool. Yeah. So no, I enjoyed Mulan. Like I said, it's not gonna stick with me. I don't think. I think I gleaned everything from it